But right now we're still not there as I see it. But that's that's the area of interest, and that's the reason why you would get a little tornado warning like this here, and that's right along 10. But understand too, at a minimum, for those of you that might be watching this here, near 10 and to the south. And Chris, let me know if we're ever getting close to a commercial break. Oh, so we're going to do it after the game? Okay, all right, so sounds good. All right, so again, at a minimum, you're going to get strong gusts in here along 10, heading towards Santa Clara here. So that, again, the tornado warning is not for one that's on the ground or active, but that is a very precautionary tornado warning. That, though, definitely has some strong wind gusts here on it. And what I'm going to do here is actually just take a moment. I want to step over here to National Weather Service information feed. I just want to see on this tornado warning anything that they're saying here on it. Yeah. All right. So now I'm going to look up the National Weather Service here, and so give me just 1 second here as I'm going back to the Weather Center. I want to look at a couple different things. And yeah. Okay. Okay, so yeah, no confirmation here whatsoever of a tornado from this warning here. So yeah, and so they are acknowledging something that I was kind of curious with, and I wanted to step off, and I looked at earlier, was our radar would call correlation coefficient, and I wasn't sure if I saw maybe a little bit of a debris signature in that product, but they said that they were starting to see one, but then the next scan came in and it did not confirm it, and so they were not able to confirm a little debris signature. But that's pretty interesting because it tells you just how close maybe we got to briefly having one touchdown here. So continuing our live stream coverage here on this tornado warning. It's still in effect, and it's going to be in effect until 10. It's going to be in effect, let me see here, till 10:30. And it is now only in a little bit of Guadalupe into Bexar County here on this warning. It's just not quite coming together. I think it had its best chance to do that. But this is the area of interest right here. It's just a strong push of winds. I see that. It's just never been completely able to wrap around here in the past 15, 20 minutes. But this is something you'd want to watch towards Seguin to see if there's an attempt to perhaps get a little bit better organized. We've got 15 more minutes here on the warning. You can see that's the extent of it. So here in about the next 15 minutes, this will start to move out. And then it's going to be a matter of whether National Weather Service wants to go ahead and fire up another warning or let it go and sit back and watch it. But right now, that's strong wind pushing in toward the radar. So, gusts of 50, maybe close to 60 miles an hour. But it's just not able to put it all the way together here in terms of the outbound wind signature. And then you got this other little area down here in the Wilson County. That's air flowing away, air towards the radar. But that's pretty weak. But that's just something that's worth watching here. And so that has not been strong enough to get a tornado warning from it here. Here's the big picture view of this line, and you see behind it rapid improvement. So it's really noisy. The winds, the loud thunder, a lot of the lightning. Just give this a little bit longer. This is going to be into Guadalupe, Wilson, down to Karnes County, eventually towards Gonzales here over the next 30 minutes to an hour. And things will begin to kind of wind down a little bit more over Bexar County, where it's this light, patchy, moderate rain that we have. So again, the worst with this line is just about through Bexar County. You can see all the way down to the south. We have another warning way down there in southern LaSalle and McMullen County. And this whole zone here heading east. And in fact, what we'll do is while we're on this live stream coverage here on our platforms, they're on the existing warning. By the way, as this re-racks here again, while we have this wider view, there were a couple of areas there that looked in this one here around China Grove there briefly. That was the one I wasn't sure if I saw a little bit of a debris signature on it. But that wasn't, we weren't able to get confirmation from the Weather Service on it, but that was one there that I was looking at. And then you also had this other little area of spin there along 35, and that was pretty close to the Frost Bank Center there on this line. Two little areas of interest that originally got the warning going here. So this is future radar I'll share with you here. This is at 11:30. So, a little more than an hour from now. I think the modeling is doing a fabulous job here capturing this line and trying to give you an idea of where it's going to be and how strong. That's still a healthy line right there. It's mainly east of Bexar County. And how long is this, Chris? Okay. Yeah. So it's 45 seconds to a minute. News 4 Chief Meteorologist Chris Sucha, an update here on our line and that little tornado warning that we have had in eastern Bexar to a little bit of Guadalupe County. This so far has not produced a tornado. Strong winds, we've had some strong winds with it, but very heavy rainfall, but winds of 50 to 60 and just haven't quite seen the circulation tighten up and get strong enough to produce a tornado. Originally we had a couple areas here along 35 near the Frost Bank Center to China Grove. And now this is the area this is the reason for the warning. Some strong winds pushing out, but pretty weak on the winds wrapping around. So this is not quite there just yet to try to support a developing tornado. The warning will expire at shortly here, probably about 10:30, another 10 minutes or so. So we'll continue to track it here for you. And of course, we continue to track this line. The worst is almost done in Bexar County, but we may have another complex of storms coming in tonight. We'll talk about that on News 4 coming up shortly. How long? Hey, Cody. Hey, how long am I going at the top? Well, if they don't reissue the warning, it'll be done at 10:30. But it's not producing a tornado, so it's one of those deals. You give me an idea of what you're thinking. Well, yeah, it's not capable of producing one right now. But the warning is active. I just don't know if it's one of those you want me to ride it out until and. Okay. So I guess I'm going to go about a minute and a half to start. Is that what you said, Cody? Or you went keep it a minute or less? They just reissued the damn tornado warning.
There you go. What's that?
Well,
That's the one we want anyway.
so we got the tornado warning now till 11. Seguin.
So you're going to go 20 seconds? No, seriously, what are you doing? Just tell me what you're doing. I don't care. I'm not going to argue with you.
Uh,
A few minutes? Because Mitch is sitting down.
Mic check, 3, 2, 1, check.
50 now.
When you're on at 10.
10 seconds.
News 4 San Antonio at 10. We're here for you.
All right, we're going to jump right into this powerful line of storms that's been moving through. We have a brand new tornado warning that stretches across Guadalupe County to Gonzales County until 11 o'clock. This was part of the line that came through Bexar County to produce the first tornado warning, although never had confirmation of a tornado that touched ground. We had strong winds. And so now there's another attempt here on this line right in here near New Berlin on I-10 here in Guadalupe County. I'm going to zoom this in, and you can see Santa Clara in here, and then there's Seguin. So what I want to do is switch over a product here that'll give you a better idea of what I'm looking at, my area of interest in here in this warning. And we'll go in even a little bit closer here, and let me pan this up. And what I think is interesting is right in there, that little guy there, you see in the warning. So what I want to do is bring this in even a little bit closer. Here you see I-10, and here you have, this is of course working south of 10, you have a farm to market 775. Right in here, that's that little suspicious area to me that we might have perhaps an attempt at developing a tornado briefly that would touch down here on the ground. There you can see there's Santa Clara here to the east, and again, right there south of 10 along 775. That would be that little area. I'll go in a little bit closer. I'm not sure we're going to be plotting any more streets there, but there you see that's farm to market 475 right here, and 775, pardon me. And that's that little area of spin that I see that is, looks to me like that's an attempt here on this line to perhaps try to develop one. You see there in the warning. That would be the spot right there if we're going to get a tornado out of all this here. And that is in Guadalupe County. That's not heading towards Bexar County. And for some perspective, there you see Seguin. So again, 775 is right here. There you have I-10. That little spot to me is very suspicious here. It's a small area, but for anyone in there, tight little area of rotation here on it that the Weather Service has this tornado warning for. This tornado warning is now obsolete. So this is the new one that's valid here moving forward. This one will expire technically off my map at 10:30, but this is the one right here. And again, the reason for this warning is that one little spot there, which is still showing me some strong wind moving away from the radar, that little pixel there, and it's a little weaker here, but that's that little attempt there along farm to market 775. If we're going to be able to get one here when all is said and done out of these two warnings, it would be in that little spot. Otherwise, what I do want to point out is as we pull this view down, I've also been watching down towards Wilson County, but this now looks to be a little less interesting to me compared to what it was earlier. In fact, that area is just more or less into just some strong gusts. You would want to watch this little spot here too to see if something, that's strong winds moving towards the radar, but it was that little kink right in there. That's the reason for the tornado warning. Bexar County, the worst is just about done in Bexar County as this line is now moving east from Bexar County. A tremendous amount of loud thunder and lightning with it. Flash flood warning is active now for almost 3 hours ahead of us here for 1 to 2 inches of rain plus that we have seen, of course, with the urban landscape of Bexar County quickly going into flood in some cases here. So we have the flash flood warning that is active, but you can see the intensity of the rainfall is really going to be backing off as we watch this one area here into Guadalupe County here. So again, real close in, just want to re-emphasize across the county, brushing right up towards Seguin, and that's that possibility of a quick little spin up, although now it looks like it might be getting a little bit weaker there with its signature. So I'll leave you with this. We have this line coming through now. I think we're going to see probably another complex develop down here. And I just want to show you future radar moving forward. You see this line moves east. We kind of settle down. Might get a random little pop-up behind it in the middle of the night, but this could be another big complex here with a severe weather risk across the southern half of our area overnight tonight, and we might get brushed with a little bit more rain and lightning and thunder to get your day started on Wednesday here. So right now, feel pretty good about that tornado warning, that right now is mainly some strong winds at this time, but we're going to have another update coming up here shortly.
Race for the Rings playoff coverage is sponsored by the Bexar County Sheriff's Office.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to this special post-game edition of News 4 San Antonio at 10. It's our Race for the Rings Spurs post-game show. I'm Don Harris. As you know, News 4, your home of the Western Conference Finals. We've got live team coverage tonight. As you saw, 3 major stories. It's election night. We've got constant results on the ticker below. A big weather night, as you just heard from Chris. And, of course, Game 5. Coach Mitch Johnson going to the podium in Oklahoma City just minutes ago. Let's listen in.
Mitch, how did you think Victor played, and can you do more to get him going?
We're going to need to. He's got to take more than 15 shots, even with the free throws. And, yeah, he's going to have to score more than 20 points for sure. And
I'm sorry, is that his aggression or game plan or a combination of both?
yeah, a combination of both for sure. OKC did a good job. We got to do a better job. And that's, yeah, probably the easiest in terms of when you just surface level stuff, that he'll definitely need to take more shots. But there's a lot of things all over the place where even when we had advantages and we just didn't make simple plays to take advantage of the opportunity in that possession. And in this type of game, you got to be sure of everything you're doing in a very secure, mature way.
Coach, you often talk about not wanting to sacrifice the intensity of a stint. You'd rather sacrifice the length of it. At this point in the season, when, you know, you want to have your best guys out there at all times, are you looking at ways to sort of create advantages or scheme for the exhaustion at all, or is that something you're not looking at?
You know, there's probably moments where you feel like the game can be in the balance, or really crucial part of the game, I guess. Whether you're making a run or the other team's making a run.
Yes, I can. All right, sounds good. Yeah, guys, things are slick, especially in these areas where it's a little bit darker. You can't quite see the water in some of these puddling areas until you're right up on them. Actually, heading in this direction, which is east, on the westbound side, we just passed by an 18-wheeler that looked to be turned over. So the westbound lanes of I-10 heading back towards the direction of San Antonio are closed. Things are backing up pretty nicely there. We can't necessarily see how far it's backed up at this point, but it is starting to build. Heading this way, we're taking things a little bit slower. Like I said, you can't really see that water until you get right up on it. It has slacked up a little bit on the rain, but as we head further towards Marion, we are expecting to see a little bit more of that. So we're going to take things slow, and I'll send it back to you guys. Hello? Hello? Okay. Oh, okay. 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 All right. I will let you know. No problem. Bye. They want us to exit off and start heading towards Vital Creek.
Got it.
In 2 miles, take the exit towards Santa Clara Road.
Hi. Hello, mic check 1 2 3 4 5. Yeah, I don't know what they did. Hey Alex, we are on, well, we just exited off of I-10. We were heading in the direction of Marion, which is east. Now we're turning back around to head west back towards San Antonio on I-10. Now we were heading this way for quite some time. It's a little dark out here. There is some puddling on the road, and you can't really see it until you get right up on it, and right as you do is kind of when you have to slow down. Now going westbound on I-10 in this area, we actually just passed not too long ago a turned over 18-wheeler. We saw that traffic was starting to back up going westbound, so if you're having to head that way, you might have to exit off and try and go around. Now we're going to head back towards the San Antonio area, but I will say as we've continued going east towards Marion, we started to see more of this rain pick up. Not any flooding at the time, but there is a little bit of water building up, and these roads are definitely slick. Like I said, it's dark. As you can see, it's dark unless there's a little bit of the laser light show going on. So just be careful if you're having to get out here and drive on these roads. As I said, we're going to turn around and go back west, and we'll let you know when we get towards that direction. We'll send it back, Alex.
Turn left. In 3/4 of a mile, turn right onto Peterbilt Road.
Okay, you're going to get onto I-10. I mean, there's traffic, so if you want to stay on the service road until we get past it.
Might be included.
Yes, I can. We're on I-10 West. We are in San Antonio. Let me see. We're pretty close to 410. We're like 2 miles from 410. Yeah. I-10 West and 410. All right. You'll take 410 north.
Got it.
Hey guys, we are now on I-10 West heading towards 410 North. Some of the things that we have seen are just some of the wet roads, a lot of lightning, some of the puddling and ponding that we've seen on the roads, but the rain is not nearly as bad now that we've started to make our way back west. Whenever we were heading east, we started to see it come down a little bit harder. We ended up passing by an accident. There was an 18-wheeler that was turned over on I-10 West. SAPD was handling that scene. There was a little bit of backed up traffic. We were able to get through it pretty quickly. Now we're heading. See, here's some of that. Oh, it didn't deliver like I thought, but there's a little bit of that light show I was talking about. Road conditions are okay. There's still more people on the roads than ideal. You really shouldn't drive on these if you don't have to, but it's not as bad as it was as we were going east. So as we get closer to the downtown area, we'll see some of the effects as that rain passed through, and we'll let you guys know what we see.
All right, Destiny, thanks a lot for that. And as always is the case, you got to be careful out there with that standing water on the roads. It's easy to hydroplane out there, and what you don't want are folks out there speeding.
It's easy to underestimate and miss what you're going to be driving through. And here we've got another photographer who is downtown near 9th Street, where we've got more flooding on the road. You can see some people outside of vehicles that have been stopped, just kind of milling about. You can see the vehicles are in several inches of water.
That's going to be some of the reported flooding downtown. Again, you're taking a live look at 9th Street around downtown. There are some places that are prone to flood, and that right there is going to look as if it's up to at least halfway up to the car on the tire at least. And as you see a tow truck there, I'm guessing that's going to be a tow truck that's going to start helping to pull some of those folks to safety, at least their vehicles.
We always hear it only takes a couple inches of water to stall out your vehicles. If you see it on the road, especially if it's one of those problem areas, it's not worth it.
Well, it's not even a matter of just stalling. It only takes but a couple of inches to sweep a car off the road as well, and that's part of the reason why you're always told to stay in, and if you do see that water, to turn around. Right now, you're looking at, again, some of those low water crossings that are closed around our area. Let's go ahead and pitch things over to Chief Meteorologist Chris Suchan. Such.
Yeah, and when we have rainfall rates like we have with that line, the urban landscape of Bexar County is just highly sensitive to flash flooding potential. And it doesn't take much all of a sudden to see scenarios like that unfold, our low water crossings, closures, blockades, and then, when that line, it moved along, but in some cases where it sits, then we get into those epic flash flooding episodes here in Bexar County. So this one here was on the lower end of the spectrum with the flash flood warning. All right, so this is the severe thunderstorm watch. This to me is still very much valid to the east and down to the south. You'll see the Weather Service start peeling away counties from this here. I think they may actually keep the southern tier in it. And that might even be Zavala and Frio to Atascosa County, because there could be an overnight complex of storms, and how that develops and evolves, that could put another severe weather risk in overnight to tomorrow morning for our far southern tier. But as far as I see it, I think Medina and Bexar and Guadalupe at this point just about in the clear. Here you see the flash flood warning, which is in Bexar County, also in a little bit of Guadalupe County. That's until 1:15. So we will see rapid improvements. The nature of flash flooding is rapid rise, but then when the rain shuts off, a rapid drop. So we will see some big improvements as we head through the night. And I do want to point out Kerr, Kendall County, that flash flood warning was for 2 to 4 inches of rain that fell. And of course, that's right over the Guadalupe River watershed here. This is the flood watch, but I think this flood watch is going to be canceled a little early as well, based on the fact that this line has now moved on. Speaking of which, there it is. Now, this is the active severe thunderstorm warning that's on the line. The rest of the line does not have a warning on it here. This is where we do have some winds that are hitting 60 plus possible in Gonzales County, but you can see how it just sort of raced right across Bexar County. I do want to point out in the Batesville to around Uvalde, we had 70 to a measured wind of around 80 miles an hour. So it was an absolute beast there with the winds. Doing some damage, tree damage out here, branches. I saw many pictures from you, those of you sending them to me on social media, and that surged out and brought the wind right across the area. It's a long-lived event here, and that's the nature of these complexes or lines once they fully develop here. We go in a little bit closer, and again, in around Bexar County, let's kind of start in around Bexar in the metro, just to kind of highlight that. Again, this is more light rain. On occasion, you could still get a couple lightning strikes behind the line. But even though you're hearing thunder, doesn't mean it's returning. It's settling down. This is light to moderate rain up there, Kirk, Kendall County, and Comal County. This is a beautiful rainy night now after some of the heavier rain. We had, of course, our crews out here in the Seguin, and I don't know if Ethan has turned the corner and is coming back towards the station, but he was heading east on 10. He was following that line. Torrential rainfall, poor visibility, winds that are strong. You see how the line is really intense here on the leading edge. And that's Ethan right now in Storm Tracker 4. Boom, there you go. I mean, he's got all that lightning. And is Ethan still heading east, Cody? Do we know? Or is he heading now west back? Okay, so he's coming back towards the station in Bexar County. But again, you could see the tremendous amount of lightning out there in Guadalupe County still from this line. He's heading back towards the station. It's racing away from Guadalupe County. And it's right in this area here. We have damaging wind gust potential. And while we do not have any tornado warnings, I will tell you that, I'll be watching here until this line leaves us. But as long as it has this little sort of look here, a little bit of like it's snaking across, so these little kinks, that to me is a little bit of an eyebrow raiser there that needs to be watched for, any attempt at a quick little spin up on it here. This to me is just more just straight winds, gusts, and it's not quite 60 miles an hour. So gusty winds down here and heavy rain, but it does get a little bit stronger as you head up into Gonzales County. And as I look at this with you, these are all just straight line winds. There's nothing here that's tornadic here at the moment. Let me turn on here this query tool here, and I'll show you the wind speeds. You can see a lot of 50 to 60 based on what I'm looking at here. So here you can see that's almost to 50 miles an hour. We'll put one right in there and one more there. Then you can see that's over 50. So might be getting a little bit of a reduction in the wind speeds here, but with this warning in this line, you still can't rule out getting a gust that pulses up to about 60. But again, most important thing is we do have the wind, but I don't see anything that's trying to wrap up and throw down a tornado. So big picture view, this line here, we talked about this for days and yesterday, how I thought it was going to develop out here and then watch it evolve and move across. Well, that's exactly what it's done. This is heading now to Houston along 10. That'll be there later on into the night down to the coastline. And then this, to me, this little sort of the southern flank here, and then into this, we're now starting to see the thunderstorms out here in New Mexico. That would have to be watched for another complex that develops, and that would be for our southern tier. So you'll see that really well here in our future radar product here. This is at 1 in the morning. You see how everything's kind of settling down. Bexar County is about done. But then we watch this. Does this fill in, continue to fill in through the night, 2, 3 in the morning, become a big complex down here towards Dimmitt County, LaSalle, parts of Maverick into McMullen, definitely around Laredo to Corpus Christi. That's a severe weather event for them if you have friends or family way down south. And then we're in the shield of rain behind it. This is light to moderate rain, even a little bit of heavier rain here. And then you get the occasional lightning strikes and thunder in this. It's not severe though, but you could get gusts of 30 or 40 miles per hour in this. But that would be the worst part of it, way down there. And then as that moves aside to the east, this is in the afternoon. In the wake of it, it's a lot of sinking air, sun's out, and it turns out to be a beautiful day on your Wednesday. So the rain chance would be in the morning. And then the afternoon, I think, is going to look really nice. Low to mid 80s. If we get the sun earlier enough, we could maybe pump up to about 85 for a high temperature, but normal high is around 90. Then 88 on Thursday. That's game 6 right here at home. Of course, right here on NBC and News 4. Friday, 89, 90 on Saturday. There's game 7. I have it here in our 7-day forecast. And then Sunday, just an isolated 20% chance. And you can see early next week, we'll bring back into scattered 40% chance of a few showers or thunderstorms in the area. But at this point, I do not have any weather alert days in the 7-day forecast. I had them last week for tonight. that materialized, and of course we had one days ago, multiple rounds of storms last week here. But I think it's going to be a little bit quieter now moving forward into the upcoming weekend. Guys?
All right, thank you, Such. We do want to also pass along a bit of information as far as some of the outages are concerned. Roughly 167 outages. That's going to be impacting roughly 23,000 customers tonight. Of course, our team coverage of the weather is going to be all throughout the night. We will do cut-ins as warranted. We'll also have you covered by way of our social media apps, our website, and first thing in the morning as well.
That's right. Our team is all over it. And, we also want to point out 31 low water crossings. There was a big line that moved through. A lot of people without power. We're going to wrap up our coverage for now. And thanks to Chris and our team for working diligently to keep everybody out there safe. We will stay on top of this throughout the night, and we'll be back in a moment.
Are we going to be back in a moment? Or are we done? Oh, what in the world? Was that me? I'll be back in a moment. Oh.
Everybody else is clear.
Oh. What a tarnation.
Okay, bye.
You shall shout, you'll hang here all night. All night, track the lightning.
Did you bring your cot? You gonna spend the night?
I will not spend the night, Melissa. I will not spend the night.
Come on.
No. But I'll be here for a while tonight. Are we streaming right now, by the way? Are we live streaming all this?
Oh, that's
I think we are. We've been streaming. I don't know if the web ever shut it down.
on that exchange that we all just had.
Am I good to go right now with live streaming, or have we been streaming through the newscast?
No, you're good to go now.
Oh, well, yeah, so that whole conversation went over there then, I'm sure, so. Yeah.
So, as long as this thing is in our area, we'll have a director here. We should do some, TV updates as long as the system's in the area, and then and also some streaming updates and that sort of thing. It's not necessarily the mission to add more live reporters or something, but Destiny's going to check out Pyre and Vital area. So. David Elizondo will probably communicate if we happen to have something up that's live that's good. You can always take it, but
Okay, all right, well. Yeah, I think you should stick around, Jonathan.
Yeah, unless we find something that we aren't expecting at Pyre and Vital. But anyway, I think just as long as this thunderstorms are in the area like this, people do some updates.
So you want to do some cut-ins on 4?
Yeah.
So I'll need Master then to give me some times here. And,
some network breaks and then some, or if I think it's like at 10.
Tornado warning. Okay, well, as soon as he clears that, then we can get on the air. What's that?
Good luck.
Thank you. New tornado warning issued.
Oh.
Gonzales County. Huh?
Are you lying?
No, I'm getting ready to go on the air as soon as we get have a local break.
Do we need to stay?
Might not be bad for like maybe one to stay just for a little bit in case like a town gets hit or something, and just for like 15 minutes.
Okay.
All right, News 4 Chief Meteorologist Chris Suchan here, 11:19. We just had a brand new tornado warning issued. This one in Gonzales County. This is what I was talking about with this line, these little squiggly, this pattern on the line where it may try to spin something up. And so the Weather Service has identified one. They've put out a tornado warning until midnight. And this is for a possibility of developing around the town of Gonzales in Gonzales County. So you see right there, that is the signature right there in radar reflectivity. I want to bring this in a little bit closer here for you. And so you can sort of see this little kink right in here. That's where possibly right over Gonzales, we may have an attempt to try to develop a tornado. So I'm going to bring this in really close. And this is the area right there that they're warning for. It's right around town, just on the south side by a short distance. This is air flowing away from the radar. So again, just to kind of orient you here with the legend, that's moving away, outbound winds, and that's pretty strong wind moving away. So that's 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts. And then right in here, this is an attempt at air moving toward the radar. So as you might imagine, in this little spot right in here, that's where we have that possibility of an attempt at a developing tornado. If we're going to get one here, it's going to be near Gonzales and then eventually moving to the east with this line. So that's what we're watching for, is right in here, the possibility of a quick developing tornado. The nature of these lines, when they get these little moments where they try to develop a little circulation, is typically brief touchdowns and then back up. We might have had one earlier around Santa Clara and Guadalupe County. So this could be the attempt at another one. And you can see as it's now getting ready to move away from Gonzales, at a minimum, this little pocket right in here, that's some pretty strong winds. So I'm going to, as this rolls through one more time here, let's just go ahead and kind of give an idea. That little spot right there, you see that's wind around 60 miles an hour. So this is damaging wind potential on its own. And then the concern is that you have this sort of little an indentation here of air flowing in and the air flowing out. And so that's where you can get possibility of a quick developing tornado. And that is southeast from Gonzales here on this here. In fact, let's go in a little closer here for you, maybe even get to a point where we could put a couple of streets on there. And as we get a little bit closer here for you. And there you can see that as we go a little bit further north. Here you have, we have one big road that's coming into town, that's 532. And then of course you have 90 right here. And so it's this little area here east of Gonzales where you do have this sort of the suspect area. And that's going to be moving away from Gonzales here shortly to the east. So then at that point, we're going to be watching here this little attempt at a circulation, how it behaves moving further east away from the town of Gonzales into Gonzales County there. And that's that little spot right there. Again, that's strong winds pushing out. And then so you can kind of see that, look at that. I mean, that really did strengthen right there. That is, doesn't mean it's tornadic, but that little pocket of strong winds. And let me see if I could turn on my query tool here. And just to give you an idea, that looks like it's punching over 60. That's probably 60 to 70 right there. Burst of some strong, there you go. So you can see 63 is the estimate here on the winds. This is an area here of 60 to 70 mile an hour winds in this line of storms here. And that's tucked into the tornado warning. So when you look at the big broad tornado warning, that's that suspect area, which to me doesn't look like just at the moment it's producing one, but you don't want to watch that for any attempt to tighten that circulation. You can see then down the road, where this is heading. This is going to be heading probably north of Shiner, but up towards Moulton here in Lavaca County with this particular section of this line. So that tornado warning is in effect until midnight, and that's a radar indicated tornado warning here on it. And you could see as it was coming into Gonzales with strong winds, and nothing that was really looking like an organized attempt at a circulation. And then all of a sudden we had this sort of this amplification of the overall line taking on this sort of S shape to it. And that is typically in a scenario, a storm motion like this or mode, where it's a line of storms. If they start to kind of kink a little bit, you have to watch for these quick developing tornadoes here. So that's what we're looking for. This is not like a big supercell that I was tracking earlier. I was putting out some tornado warnings. This one here is for this little squall line that's racing across our eastern zone counties. There you see it also has a big severe thunderstorm warning here in this whole area. The possibility of getting winds hitting 60 or so is on the table. And then embedded in that warning is the smaller tornado warning. And so this is going to be moving towards the northern end of Lavaca County, there along I-10. And torrential rainfall, a lot of lightning, very loud thunder with this. And you see, again, this is all moving now out and away from Bexar County as it's moving here to the east. And while we're here on this, just to point out, just south of the warning, for those of you in DeWitt County, we will watch here too to see how the line behaves coming out of Karnes County here. Really heavy pockets of rain. There are some wind gusts down here too. In fact, what I'll do is, again, that's the reason for this little tornado warning here is that little spot there, right there, okay? And then I just want to kind of pan down and take a look here with you. Do not see anything really suspicious at this point. We'd always want to watch for any attempt at a little bit of a stronger push here, some winds on the line. But everything looks to be a little bit more subdued and under control. Out of DeWitt County into Gonzales County. And that right there is the reason for this warning. And as we bring this in closer here for you, moving away from Gonzales, and what you could see is you certainly can make out that there's inbound winds in this direction, but they're really pretty weak, and it's a strong push of wind this way. So, are you able to get something that briefly tries to spin up here in that scenario? This most recent scan here looks a little bit less impressive to me here on it, but that's the reason for the warning. It's right here, that little sort of kink in the line. And that, again, is moving along 90 away from Gonzales. And eventually that's going to put it, you see the tornado warning blinking here with the Weather Service trimming the back edge of the warning now as it's moving away from the town of Gonzales. And so right in here is where that suspect area is. And you go on the north side here of the warning, and it's a little bit of a broader area that they have up here, but this is a lot of strong gusts. And just in case something were to try to suddenly develop here, so they have a little bit of a larger warning. But that to me is in the warning itself, that's a little bit more the suspect area right there. And that was right around Gonzales, trying to develop over Gonzales, and now moving here off to the east here. So that's the tornado warning in effect until midnight. And as we take this back in time, you see behind it, these are the existing advisories and warnings. That's a flood advisory, Bexar County until 1:15 with a flash flood warning that goes into a little bit of Guadalupe and Comal County. And then also in Kerr and Kendall County, that's another flash flood warning. And so otherwise, everything is really settling down. This big menacing line, it filled in. That was something I was watching to see how it was going to behave. There you can see how it filled in right there. And then it got some forward acceleration, and it came across like a bulldozer. Produced a wind gust about 80 miles an hour in Batesville. Uvalde had winds that were hitting 70 plus in around town and the southern end of the county. And now the worst of that now stretching across our eastern quarter of the area, our eastern zone counties now dealing with this line right on down into Beeville to Three Rivers. I've been into it, pretty heavy rainfall there, right over Choke Canyon, coming into Lake Corpus Christi. And then, so that's the worst part of this overall line. You don't see warnings further south along it. It's right here in Gonzales County into a little bit of Lavaca County, where we have that suspect area. These are these little quick little spin ups. We had one possibly that was trying to develop and might have actually produced a tornado not far from Santa Clara, or just barely in Santa Clara in Guadalupe County earlier. It was there briefly on radar, that little signature of it, and then it unraveled. And so now we are looking a little bit better here as this is moving away from Gonzales. And still want to keep our guard up in the warning, but we've lost a little bit of that, little bit of that signature that we had when it was over town, and that prompted the tornado warning to be issued. So now it looks more like just gusty winds here that could still be hitting around 50 to 60 miles per hour, but just not quite as formidable looking as it was a little bit earlier here. And we'll just kind of take this in a little bit closer. In a perfect world, we would just have sort of a straight line here instead of seeing these little kinks where that's just straight line, pure straight line winds. But it's still got, it's not as S-shaped as it was earlier, if you will. And to me, it may be a little less impressive. We still have the warning, so we'll see if they want to run with it a little bit longer here. But that was really sort of the area of interest to me there as it popped up over Gonzales. That was another good precautionary tornado warning issued. You always want to try to give lead time. You don't want to wait for a report of one or see it on radar. Sometimes you're looking for the trends to punch a warning out so you can have that reaction time here and the information to make decisions. And so that was really a good warning that was issued. Now, it does look a little less impressive to me here. Doubtful we have anything. And there you go. The tornado warning has expired. So no longer a tornado warning in Gonzales County. Still heavy rain, some strong wind gusts here on it, but you are no longer under a tornado warning. Severe thunderstorm warning continues. You see there's another one up here, severe thunderstorm warning for this part of the line. That's in the Austin area. And so we will continue. Ethan in Storm Tracker 4 has made it out to Gonzales. So we're going to take his shot. So he was heading west on 10. I think he did a U-turn and started heading back. And so there you go. He's trying to drive back into that big line. And so you can see the tremendous amount of lightning that he's showing us, those driving conditions there on I-10. But he's behind the line as it's actually now in the process of moving away from town. That's how fast it's moving. So he's probably right about somewhere in here. And he's catching all that lightning right there. Again, the tornado warning has expired. No longer a warned for storm in terms of a tornado. It's a severe thunderstorm warning now is back in play here. And we will watch this from the 4-Zone Weather Center to see if another attempt at a warning pops up for a tornado. But I do want to let you know that we're going to be continuing our coverage on our live stream platforms, our Facebook page, YouTube channel here at News 4, news4sanantonio.com as well. If you'd like a little bit more coverage here on the storms. We'll continue our coverage here in just a moment. Okay, we're going to continue our live stream coverage here of this big line that's been moving through. It has produced multiple tornado warnings through the day today, including a big supercell storm. And in fact, what I want to do is take you back in time. Then this is a 6-hour loop. And so this was what was left once here as this re-racks. You'll see from Frio into Atascosa County, that was a big supercell storm that we had through the day. From about 3 o'clock in the day afternoon, we produced the first tornado warning of the day. And that went from Zavala County, Frio into Atascosa, fell apart. Then this big line became the main show as that set up and developed out to the west, and then has really covered much of the area, including all of Bexar County for a time there. It was a pretty rough period there with winds, high rain, really loud thunder, and a tremendous amount of lightning across the county here. And now that has all quickly raced on. So the worst of this now is our eastern zone, right on down into Karnes City and Kennedy. And this is at this point here, this is gusts 40, 50 miles an hour on this section of the line. And then it escalates up to the 50 to 60 range here in the warning in Gonzales County, a little bit of Lavaca. A little stronger on this part of the line compared to way down south here. And again, you can see it's really making some steady progress. Bexar County now at this point here, done with the rain from this batch. There might be a couple little drops here on the eastern side. Notice we still had some lightning strikes here on the back side of this big complex. Storm inflow into it here, and oftentimes you get this stratiform area of rain and occasional lightning strikes. Sometimes it's kind of crawling across the sky, putting on a show here. So you get a lot of that in the backside of these big complexes and lines. But again, this is light rain, more of a moderate rain here up to the north. You're just happy to see it linger a little bit behind a line when it's like this here. You notice this batch is actually kind of moving out now. And then as we go over here into our eastern zone, Hallettsville into Aquero, getting ready for this line to come in. It's not going to collapse all of a sudden. It's going to work its way right out of our area across Lavaca County, heading towards Bay City to Houston, Sealy, all areas. I'll be getting into this here right on down to Matagorda Bay, Port Lavaca, And down to Rockport to Corpus Christi, another batch here for you. Yeah, but this is now out of our area. We zoom this in on Gonzales County. This is all still just gusty winds I see. We had a little bit of an attempt at perhaps a circulation here on the line around Gonzales, and that quickly unraveled. So these are all just gusts in that 50 to 60 range here in the warning. And then as we look at the big broad view here for you, you can see really a well-developed line. From here on down to just east of Laredo, that's actually a big cell, hasn't fully attached to the line there. That's a big storm though. But you can see again, that's this line that's going to be heading right on over towards the coastline, the Houston area. And then behind it eventually, I think that could be an area of interest here for development. This one storm that we're able to pick up on now, and how that interacts in this little corridor here and sets up could be another developing complex. But that would be more Laredo to Corpus Christi, and then sort of scraping the southern part of our area through the night tonight. So future radar with our high res, this has been my model of choice today. This is the HERC computer model here, which updates every hour, taking in radar data, other observations. But anyway, every hour it starts fresh with what it sees on radar, tries to give you an idea of how then things will map out into the future. So it's really a good tool when you're in the mode of tracking and the storms are developing here. You see it's latched onto that line, and this is how it projects it jumping ahead to 12 to 12:30, an hour from now. And so it's doing a good job of initializing this activity. All right, so that's still strong to occasionally severe storms way down south. Might be a little slow. I would say that's about the only critique I have here on it, is probably going to be about a county further east by 12:30, Lavaca County to Victoria. So it might be a little slow in moving it through, but it has the general idea though overall on how everything looks. That's at 1:30 in the morning, and you can see behind it how you get a couple of these little pop-up showers. And then let's roll on this now to 2 to 3 in the morning. That's way down there in the Webb County. So already what I'm seeing here with this model update is that maybe it's not as far north with this southern complex. It might be taking shape a little bit more on the border of our viewing area. That would be Dimmitt, LaSalle, McMullen County, and some heavy rain at 4:30. And then, do we get just barely scraped by it through 6 to 8 o'clock in the morning for your commute? Well, I certainly feel that in the morning, if you're down to Atascosa, Wilson, heading down 37, your chances to run into rain in the morning do increase as you work all the way down to the coastline. It does look pretty stormy as you get further towards the coast. And there's just a matter of how far back inland does this rain make it and stretch out. And then you can see as we work our way into the afternoon, scattered showers along the coastline, maybe a little pop-up or two way down south here. But in general now, this is the backwash of that big complex. That's a lot of sinking air and scours the clouds out. The sun comes out. It turns out to be a beautiful day. So the rain chance I have Wednesday, that really is for the morning. I'm not really expected to see much for the afternoon, evening, and that's just a 30% chance. Not really expected to see much on Thursday. Friday, nice day here to round out the week. Normal high is 89, so we're going to be right around where we should be. The weekend around 90 degrees. And Sunday we'll bring in an isolated 20% rain chance. That then goes to a scattered chance Monday and Tuesday, where our next, I feel, opportunity to get into a couple of days where we could see some showers and storms. And once again, add to our rainfall totals in our area. That will be back on the table, but that's going to be early next week. This is not going to be a week where we get rounds of clusters of storms to come through seemingly every day or every 2 days like we had last week here. So this big line will move aside, and we'll start to watch the possibility of a southern complex develop here. And we'll see if later on tonight into tomorrow morning we're able to get a little bit of a scrape of some rain in around Bexar County here. But the heaviest is now shifting east, and we'll continue to do some updates here on this line. We'll be back here in about 15 minutes here with another update for you. Control room is my mic. You have my mic? Okay. Well, let's go ahead and jump into this update, and talk about this line that's racing off to the east here. So you've been watching the live stream here of it moving into our eastern zone. Well, let's begin with the watch that's active. And again, I think as we head through the night tonight, you're going to find that we're going to have counties that are going to be peeled out of this watch. So we really pretty much verified everything you see here in today's watch. We had a brief tornado touchdown in northwestern Maverick County. We might have had one also in near Santa Clara and Guadalupe County here tonight. And then I also just saw on X, there was a real big tornado just across the Rio Grande from Laughlin earlier in the day today. That was, it looked like that was probably EF2, EF3 level, a big, sizable, violent tornado. That stayed out of our area just west of the Rio Grande as that cluster was coming in later in the afternoon hours here. All right, so the flood watch, this too probably canceled early in the night tonight. Once the Weather Service, right now they're dealing with that line, it's exiting to the east. So once things begin to settle down and moves out, they'll probably just go ahead and cancel this. We did in fact have the flash flood warning here in Bear, a little bit of Guadalupe, Comal County. This one here that was in Kerr Kendall has expired. So we actually had, and one in Atascosa County. So we had a number of these flash flood warnings today. That was a pretty good flood watch that was issued. That was for a general 1 to 3 inches of rain, spots that could see upwards of 5 inches. And now this is where things stand. This is going back in time. You can see the clock up there. So this is about a good 6-hour loop. And this line organized, it was a wind machine coming across. And the only thing that saved us from really having a bigger flash flooding episode than what we had is the fact that it was a progressive line moving along rather than just sitting on top of us or seeing more storms train and build back in to replace the exiting storm. So it was a quick hitting line overall, and now you see it's in the process here of just about clearing our area way out there in our eastern zone, going in now into Lavaca County. So let's shift this over. This is all just sort of light patchy rain with occasional lightning and thunder. You're probably still seeing the flashes of Bexar County here, especially looking to the east. And now the strongest part of this line is now in Lavaca County, crossing DeWitt County, coming into Goliad here. You see the active warnings. We do have a warning here on this portion of the line across Lavaca County, which includes Hallettsville. We do not have a warning down there into DeWitt County. So as we zoom this in just a little bit closer, there you can see Yoakum, Shiner to Moulton here in it. In fact, let's just go in just a little bit tighter there. And the one thing I've been watching on this line is looking at the shape of it. And anytime you start to see this sort of that snaking, the curves in a line, sometimes that can be an attempt in a scenario like this where you get a real brief circulation that pops up. So right now, Moulton to Shiner, getting into it here with the winds and the heavy rain. It's now letting up a little bit back into Gonzales, and this is going to be coming right in here into Gonzales shortly as it's making progress here to the east at a pretty decent clip. We go a little further here to the south, and by the way, you can see there's a brand new warning that was issued. Now this is from the Houston National Weather Service office, so they're already getting ahead of the game and putting a warning out for their far western tier, butting up against our viewing region here. We go down into Cuero. Again, heavy rainfall, some wind gusts here on this part of the line, a lot of lightning still with it, with that loud thunder here. So you finally have gotten your hands on this line there into DeWitt County and Yorktown. You've had it in Karnes County, and now working into Goliad County as it's moving out of Karnes County. And that, of course, means it's also moving out of Wilson County, where it's just more light to moderate rain, and then further up into Seguin in Guadalupe County, really calming things down. And then, of course, as we go right out of our area, there you have Beeville into some very heavy rainfall. This is a product we use which has gotten a lot of work today, looking at strong straight line winds or circulations that we have. And so right now, this is all primarily just strong wind gusts. You can see these pockets of these winds. And in some cases here, like there around Shiner, we're talking about wind that's probably on the order of 50. That looks like it might be near 60 miles an hour. 50 to 60 is what I would say right up in here. I'll just drop a couple of points in there, and there you can see we'll do one right down here too. And there you can get a little bit of a flavor of the winds. There's one that's pushing around 58. So this area here, I would say 45, 55, maybe a gust that could pulse up to about 60. That's where you have that warning that's active for that scenario. So very windy here along this stretch Moulton, Shiner into Yoakum. That'll be moving into Hallettsville here in short order here before long. And like I said, and I do want to watch these little kinks in the line just in case here for just a little bit longer until this exits our area. Do we get one last little, attempt at a tornado warning for a brief little spin up? So that's something I'll be watching here too. Just go in there a little bit closer while I'm looking at it there. This is getting really pretty far away from the radar as well here. So, but that's something I just don't want to completely discount. We'll watch it here with the Weather Service. This is the last of the line here in our area. It's again cutting across our far eastern tip, making really steady progress here as it's moving to the east. And all along it, the wind gusts and the heavy rain, very well developed line. And then down here, some pretty strong cells. And then we're going to keep an eye on this little batch out here in New Mexico to see how that evolves and develops. And do we get an impact here in our southern tier from that? So that could be an overnight complex into tomorrow morning. But that really would favor more Laredo to Corpus Christi for more of a dead aim and a direct hit. And then we're just, at that point, it's just a matter of how far the shield of rain can move north in our area deep into the night into tomorrow morning. So don't be surprised if 4 to 7, in the morning in spots, if you're hearing thunder and seeing lightning before the sun comes up, especially down to the south. So south of 90, I think, is probably the best bet for that scenario. Here you can see this is at 1 o'clock in the morning. And again, this model here, the only gripe or complaint I've had with it is it's just been a little slow. This line here by 1 in the morning was probably going to be about over here out of our area. So it's just running a little slow with the movement of it, but overall it has a pretty good look to it. It's handling things overall well in terms of the presentation of the line of storms. You can see these attempts at some scattered showers, a little bit of thunder way down south. That would be that emerging complex of storms attempting to develop just on our far southern tier. And then you see some of that does overlap in the McMullen-LaSalle County. So down here, you can't quite drop your guard just yet on the possibility of getting it back into some strong storms. But that, you see, that's 4 to 6 o'clock into the morning. This is at 8 o'clock. This is an area of rain that's in our area still with the strongest storms down towards the coastline. But this is a case where sometimes you get caught in a shield of rain behind it, and then everything really calms down, settles down as we head through the day on Wednesday, where it turns out to be an absolutely beautiful day. And I do not see rounds of these storms coming in the days to follow. So I think this is a one-time affair for this week with a big severe line coming through. And I do not have any weather alert days in the 7-day forecast for the first time in a while, actually. So I had that weather alert day for tonight since late last week, and this is the reason why. That was what I was concerned about last Thursday, Friday, when I was showing you that 7-day forecast right into Monday of this week, Sunday and Monday. So here again, you can see moving into our far eastern zone. We'll work our way into it here. So you can see in around Bexar County, after having about 1 to 2 plus inches of rain, things are really calming down here quite a bit. And this looks like a little bit of radar ground clutter is what we have here in the county. Still getting a little bit of patchy rain in parts of Comal, Guadalupe County, and down into Wilson County, still raining around Stockdale, Falls City, Poth. Floresville still with a little light rain, maybe around Lavernia. And then it really picks up in Karnes County to these patches of moderate going into heavy rain, which is just about out of Karnes County. The heaviest now, Goliad, DeWitt County, Yorktown, right into Aquero, into Yoakum. And then we go into Lavaca County, and you can see again how this is now exiting out of Gonzales and making steady progress into Lavaca County. Up next here will be Hallettsville in very short order here. So it's right on your doorstep. And we'll take this in again a little closer here for you. And you can see that it's going to be a sharp escalation into some pretty heavy rain. And again, tucked in this line, winds are 45, 50, 55 to maybe near 60. So that warning is for the possibility of getting a push of wind that could challenge 60 miles per hour here. So that'll be coming in. A little wind machine with heavy rain, a lot of lightning. No doubt about it here. It is a noisy storm. Be waking some folks up out here if you're not up already. And there again, you can see that's working right along that north-south stretch there of a 95 from Moulton, Shiner into Yoakum. You're heading west on 90, heavy rain, and then it's more of a moderate rain into Gonzales here at this time. So that's what's left of our big line of storms, about ready to clear the area. I think you're going to have to really give it, I would say, by about 12:45. It'll be really in the process of sort of exiting eastern Lavaca County out of our area. Also, do note, you see there's a little bit of development that's now out ahead of it. So that's something to consider for those that are out of our area further east. You get into the Houston area, you're starting to see some showers popping up. That'll feed into this big complex here. And ultimately, you're going to have that severe risk and maybe some localized flooding that'll extend right into the Houston area deep into the night towards daybreak. So that's how they'll start off their day, is with this big complex here. And then again, as we go, let's just take a little tour up north here while we're doing this. Austin area. The only thing I would have loved to have seen is, maybe we would find a little bit more of our area in this shield of rain, which we can often get behind these complexes or lines, rather than a sharp drop-off in rain where it shuts off quickly. Always love that lingering area of steady rain. Sometimes you can find yourself in it for 2-3 hours, and that's just really nice to soak it in here and get every drop you can get your hands on. But you see, instead, we had a little bit more of a sharp cutoff as things shut down here. And then as we go way down to the south here, you see barely any form of a shield of rain behind this part of the line here. So the best setup for that is further up on the north end of the line. We go down south, and an interesting setup here for those of you who are watching here on our live stream update is that you see how the line then bends and it goes more west. So that's a scenario sometimes I like to watch on the southern ends of these lines or complexes. Do we find ourselves getting into training thunderstorms where storms move in after one moves on, another one comes in behind it to replace it? And sometimes you can get in a flash flooding scenario with that. By the way, that's a pretty rough thunderstorm right there. That's a severe thunderstorm east of Laredo, south out of our area. So you see a tremendous amount of lightning with that storm, which many of you here in LaSalle, McMullen County are certainly seeing off into the distance here. So that's kind of where things stand here with that line. And again, keeping an eye on radar velocity here. This is looking at wind direction, wind speed. It's been a pretty helpful tool through the day today, identifying pockets of strong gusts. We've had gusts in our area of 70 to 80 miles an hour that were recorded. And then also multiple tornado warnings here through the day, with at least one I know for sure. I think a second one was in Guadalupe County, where we had a brief touchdown around not far from Santa Clara, or in part of Santa Clara in the city limits. And then right now what this is just strong wind gusts. And this is actually looking probably a little less formidable in terms of thinking about circulations here at this point. But definitely see some strong pockets of 50 to 60 mile an hour winds cutting across Lavaca County. And then right north out of our area, there you see there's Schulenburg right there along 10. This is all strong winds that you see here. As we just there's LaGrange, strong pockets of winds here easily of pushing near 60 miles an hour. And you see those warnings continue right out of our area. So we go a little further south. Do want to point out that the Weather Service did put a warning in for DeWitt County. That'll be in effect for a little bit longer as this line then clears DeWitt County here in terms of the worst of it. But that's for strong gusts. Most of these warnings at this point here do not include much risk of hail. When you get into this line, this mode of thunderstorms where it's a line, big complex like this, oftentimes the hail, the ability to produce large hail, 1 inch plus in diameter, really is decreased quite a bit. The efficiency to do that just becomes a wind event. And then you watch for little spin-ups, on a line like this. And so that's where we've been here for much of the evening. But again, you can see it's making steady progress here as it get ready to move into Hallettsville and then clear out of our area. And again, there you see those strong winds. This is, let me go ahead, before I get too far along, I just want to take a look at our watches and warnings here while we're doing this, just to see if there's been no update on the flash flood watch, and no update here on the severe thunderstorm watch. So I think as this line begins to move out, you'll see our local National Weather Service office start pulling some counties. So at this point here, I don't really see a severe threat for Medina, Bexar, Guadalupe County, probably not for Zavala, Frio, or Atascosa or Wilson. Down south here, you'll probably see this portion of the watch extend through the night because of that potential for a second complex. This flood watch will not make it to Wednesday morning. We have seen the line clear, and so It'll have an early expiration. You see the advisories, the flash flood warnings that linger. We earlier had some additional advisories and warnings, so this is not all we saw today. So that was really a well-placed flood watch overall. Could make an argument that maybe it had to go a little bit further south with it, but that was because we had that one big supercell that then moved from Zavala, Frio, into Atascosa County. It was slow movement, and there was a zone there of 1 to 3 inches of or more of rain, especially in Atascosa County, where we had 4+ inches of rain from that big supercell storm there. Otherwise, nice job there with the flood watch. Here you see the existing flood advisory, flash flood warnings that we have here. And there's the big line. You can see that's a 6-hour loop. And so you can see it from Maverick and Kinney County, how it evolved. Earlier on, I was watching this complex coming out across the Rio Grande. There was a secondary area of development in parts of the hill country, Edwards Plateau, and there was a gap between them. So I was watching to see them, see if they could fill in a little bit, and that's what happened right about in there. You can see as this backs up here, that area of storms kind of filled in, and then it really filled in quite a bit as it was coming into Bear right up in here. There was a time I wasn't sure we might have a little bit of a gap for the northern part of Bexar County, but that filled in beautifully. So everyone got a good kick of some water with this. Heavy rain, a good 1-2+ inches of rain in around Bexar County from it. But steady progress, moving quickly here off to the east. And again, there you can see it now. The worst is just about out of our area here. We'll go a little closer in before we leave you on this here, on this live stream update. Back there into Lavaca County. And you can see again, Moulton to Shiner to Yoakum, almost in the clear. You got a little bit more to go here before it really begins to back off on the intensity of the rain and the wind, as that's spreading now into Hallettsville here shortly. And then again, mixed in here, you have gusts 50 to 60 with the real heavy rainfall. High rainfall rates in here that are hitting 3+ inches per hour. The only thing that's holding back the rainfall amounts from being even higher than they are is just a steady movement of the line rather than just sitting in one spot there. So again, coming into Hallettsville, and then as we shift this down to the south, here you have Victoria, just off to your west now. There's Goliad into it, getting into this line. Yorktown into Cuero, about ready to see the worst of it shift out of DeWitt County. And then we'll take this in right on down to Beeville. And here you have Mathis, you get into Lake Corpus Christi. There's a Choke Canyon earlier had this line. This line hit most of the river watersheds as it was moving along. So you're going to see river flow over the next 12 to 24 hours is going to be quite a bit stronger and healthier. And so that will help out Choke Canyon. You have, of course, river flow into it. And then downstream from Choke Canyon into Lake Corpus Christi, of course, with the Nueces, you have the Frio and the Atascosa. We'll be pumping in further increases for Lake Corpus Christi, which is up about 6 to 7% from its low point. And then way up here, do want to point out that, the Guadalupe River and the Medina River watersheds, they also got hit with some pretty good water. Probably not going to see this again for this week. I'd like to have seen a little bit more in Bandera County for the Medina River and Medina Lake. You see we had that flood advisory. Most of it was here on the eastern portion of the river just above Medina Lake, but the western part was a little lighter on the amounts. Now, this is only a 6-hour loop. Earlier in the day, we did have a few downpours that did hit Bandera and Kirk County before what you see here. So this wasn't the only rain of the day in Bandera County. So do want to acknowledge that, but you can see again, getting into the headwaters of the Nueces and the Frio and Sabinal, a lot of those rivers were able to pick up on some pretty good rain. And so be really anxious to see river flow overnight into tomorrow, which should look a little bit healthier, and thinking about maybe getting some increases on the lakes. The name of the game, because Medina Lake and Canyon have really more or less maintained through this pattern, or a very slight increase, because we just haven't been able to get a stronger, persistent river flow. We get it strong enough, and then it kind of starts to subside a little bit. And so we need it to be a stronger flow into those lakes. And the unfortunate part about doing that is that after this line and some of the rain we've seen, then late this week, we're kind of shutting the rain chance down for a little bit before we think about turning it back on here. So there'll be a stretch where the rivers start to come down slowly and gradually. But in the meantime, we should see a little bit of a kick into Canyon Lake from that, and the Medina Lake as well. I would think Choke Canyon should be able to see a little bit of a response here from this. And then down Is the mic, you got to turn it on back there?
No, once I walk in there, I'll know if it came back up.
Oh, yeah, it's, all right, I'm going to jump on there just do a little bit longer. So microphone battery died, so we got a fresh battery in there. But I was talking about Lake Amistad. What I wanted to point out is that this system also brought some pretty good rain through the Rio Grande watershed way back out in the southwest Texas too. So hopefully we get some stronger flow into Lake Amistad that we can show you some increases here down the road. So through the day there were flash flood warnings out in southwest Texas, Big Bend, out to Alpine and Marathon. All those areas saw some pretty good rain out to El Paso from this system. So again, that's all those regional lakes here. Again, just want to kind of cover this here as we wrap up our coverage tonight with this live stream update. You see the big severe thunderstorm warnings extending out of our area into the Houston television market. We still have them hanging on for our far eastern tier counties, DeWitt and Lavaca County, as we're just about done with this line as it's moving now through. And it looks like it's 12:15 now, and just got to give it about another 20 to 25 minutes. And it'll shift east, Lavaca, and then out of the area. But you see it coming into Hallettsville right now with some strong gusts in here and pockets of torrential rainfall, a lot of lightning, and very noisy thunderstorm here with the thunder. Moulton to Shiner, on down into Yoakum, and then east into Hallettsville. Very bumpy stretch right now there. That, of course, being along 90, and then you have a Highway 95 from Moulton into Yoakum here. Some roads here that are tough to travel on right now, this hour of the night at 12:15. We go down to Cuero, and again, you see a pocket of some heavy rain, a lot of lightning still around town. And the things are slowly beginning to decelerate there in DeWitt County. The intensity of this rainfall is much lower than it has been, except for a couple of these little leftover pockets. But overall, kind of winding things down for you. And then we go out here to the west, and patches of a little bit more of a light to moderate rain still around Gillette and Nixon out there in the Stockdale, still getting a little bit of rain. So you can see there's a zone here of lingering rain behind the line that'll last for another hour and a half or so here. And again, always just happy to get this steady soaking rain without that high intensity where you worry about flooding on the back side of it here. Just a little splash of extra water after the heavy rain that you just had here. And then as we bring this back into around Bear, again, sort of check and clear here at this point. So again, you see those strong winds still now in Hallettsville moving in. These are winds that are punching near 60 miles an hour in that severe thunderstorm warning. This is all 50 to 60 mile an hour winds in our far eastern tier. We brought out this view here for you to get some better perspective on South Texas. And easy, you see actually the line is trying to develop a little bit further north. So, boy, I mean, if that fills in all the way up here, boy, that is a big line of storms. And that's all, again, heading in this general direction here. That's the motion of it is going to be covering southeast Texas. And we're now getting into the backwash of it, which is kind of quiet for a portion of the night, and then watching this area here with interest moving forward through the night. And you're seeing some signs, if you look closely here, see like right there, that's a developing thunderstorm, might be even one here. And so this whole area is likely to start getting a little bit more aggressive with development. And as this complex develops, probably we get a little bit more of a line with a bow echo on it here too, and then that will sort of kick across in this direction, across our far southern tier and out of our area, and then we just get the backwash rain for the southern tier of our region. But I think as I see it, the severe risk would be just south out of our area with this this overnight batch into tomorrow morning. So here it is. Again, this model is just a little slow, but you get the general sense here of its movement and how it looks moving out of our area, 2 o'clock in the morning. This is probably going to be over here at 2 o'clock in the morning. And then you have this batch down south, the developing showers and storms through 5 o'clock in the morning. That would be your severe risk. This is just noisy. Lightning and thunder that you see here, moderate to some heavy rain, our far southern tier counties. You see how that moves east. Might get scraped a little bit with a little bit of rain in around Bexar County early in the morning. And then it shifts out of the area, and then really not expected to see much in the back part of the day behind all this here. So that 7-day forecast, it's now Obviously Wednesday, so it was jumping ahead on me on the forecast there. I haven't been able to set it to correctly. Midnight hour automatically advances a day forward here on me. So rather than confuse you and show you that 7-day forecast here, we'll just stick with what we have right now. And wrap this up, let me show you here what it looks like on radar. Again, heaviest now in Lavaca County, Hallettsville. We have still the potential for some winds of 60 miles an hour. No hail in here, no tornado risk. Heavy rain, frequent lightning, and thunder down into DeWitt County, where it's actually beginning to improve a little bit in DeWitt County. Heavier in Goliad, although that's not severe. So this is really what's left of the severe risk right now in our areas there in Lavaca County. And that just needs about another 20 to 25 minutes, and that severe portion of the line will be over here a little bit further off to the east here. So thank you for joining me here on this, what has been a very busy Tuesday, now Wednesday morning. Good morning to you. Hope you have a wonderful night, and I'll see you later in the day today.